Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, hi.
Yeah, I think I'm facing some audio issues, but
Okay.
just let me change once and try again.
Okay.
Uh, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear you. I'll try to change something else. Okay, I think that's fine. I'll just turn this off. Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's fine.
Hi, welcome. Again. So, yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hold My Coffee. During last session, we had Mr. Rashmi from Zeta, and we discussed about Web3 gaming. And if you following the news or the Twitter trend and everything, so you could find that these RWAs are are trending, and a lot of RWA tokens are like surging more than like 50%, 90%, and all. And also recently, BlackRock is very vocal about the potential of RWAs and all that. So, let's welcome Mr. Koushik Bhargav, the co-founder and CTO at Zoth, which is a RWA protocol, right, Koushik?
Yes, yes. So, yeah, Zot is essentially a real world asset marketplace, right? Yeah, thanks for the invite first. So I'm Kaushik. I'm the co-founder at Zot. I'll just give a probably quick intro about what we are doing. Probably that would be the best place to start, right? So yeah, Zot. What we're trying to do is we believe that the world of crypto and Web3 would be moving towards the amalgamation or the combination of both on-chain finance and traditional finance as the time goes by. There would be more and more assets coming from traditional finance moving into on-chain finance, and at the same time, a lot of investors and a lot of liquidity from traditional finance goes into on-chain finance, and we're seeing that in case of Bitcoin ETFs, etc., where institutional money, traditional finance money is going into crypto world. But at the
Right.
same time, there's so much liquidity that is locked right now in RWAs, where liquidity from crypto money is going into traditional asset classes as well, right? And at Zoth, what we want to be is a bridge between both of these worlds of both off chain, which is traditional finance, and also on chain, which is your DeFi, and that's what we do. That's essentially we do it by our first product that we're building is a marketplace that brings in more and more real world assets on chain, allowing crypto users, institutions to invest into traditional asset classes. But in the long run, we want to bring in more and more products, mix both of these worlds together.
Right. And congratulations on this expansion to Singapore and Southeast Asia recently.
Yeah. So with respect to our product market fit that we tried to find in the past 6 months is we started. Now there's so many RWAs that you can bring into the market, right?
Okay.
So we wanted to understand what is the best asset class that we can, or the low hanging fruit, I would say, that we wanted to bring into crypto. And what we've realized is the first ever asset class that is easier is trade finance, or this very common in case of cross-border trade, if you're familiar with cross-border trade or invoice factoring, bill discounting, right? So all of these sector of asset classes have or businesses doing cross-border trade have one of the biggest challenge, which is access to US dollar based capital, right?
True.
And at Zoth, what we do is we essentially provide that US dollar based capital to all of these businesses doing cross border trade. And these are good businesses. These are businesses which have really good credit rating, really good funding. But the challenge is that as they're based in countries like LATAM, emerging markets from LATAM, and also in Southeast Asia, access to dollars is very limited, right? Even for big companies, getting access to US dollars, especially to cap as a capital or as a financing model for their business operations, is difficult. So, and this all comes under private credit, and we have seen this as a low hanging fruit because most of invoice factoring or cross border trade is actually very free and open in most countries, even in Singapore, in Middle East, and in LATAM, etc. There's a lot. Governments are more open because they promote trade, right? And that's where we started bringing these products on chain, where institutions can directly fund companies or give loans to companies who are doing cross border trade,
Okay.
and that allows good capital, good liquidity source for your borrowers, and also a great opportunity to get some exposure to emerging markets, and emerging markets like LATAM to our lenders, right? So we thought it was a great fit, and we tried, and we were able to crack good TVL also within the past few months as a small company. So right now we are looking at a $6 million in TVL, and one of the deals that we did was on a blockchain called XDC, and that's what I think you're referring to.
Right. So you quite interestingly, described about the RWS and where we are focusing on. If you can, explain more about, what is, in general market, what is the RWS and how it impacts the current world. Particularly, you talked about, invoicing, finance and all that. So if you talk about more about stable coins or, beyond the stable coins and everything, to the audience.
Yes, yes. So in case of RWAs and stable, I mean, of course, most of the RWAs right now are directly being invested using stable coins, and stablecoin itself is an RWA. I think of it like that because if you look at any stablecoin, such as the biggest stablecoin or even the second biggest one, right, USDT and USDC, all of these stable coins are essentially tokenized T-bills, right? So the back end of the asset is actually T-bills. And so I see stablecoin as nothing but a direct derivative from a traditional finance asset, making it an RWA, right? And the reason why I personally am super bullish in terms of the adaptation towards stablecoins is the great example is LATAM, right? So USDT is the largest form of largest cryptocurrency, has like the largest market penetration in terms of cryptocurrencies in LATAM. The reason is because the currency fluctuation in emerging markets is actually increasing, right? Because of inflation, because of current volatility with respect to the LATAM or emerging market based currencies, making it difficult for them to get actually access to any type of even forget about cross border trade, right? You just holding your native currency is going to be uh,
Very risky.
depleting your wealth, right? So much that people are actually going and accessing US dollars. And the best way to access, or the easiest way to get access to US dollars, is nothing but a stable coin, right? And LATAM is actually, you see massive adoption of stable coins in LATAM. Like we are working with a lot of LATAM based borrowers, and they are happy to onboard, get their financing needs in the form of stable coins because there's already a very good ecosystem within these countries, right, like Brazil, Colombia, etc., that they can actually utilize these stable coins freely, right?
True.
And that's why we are super bullish on it. And I believe like adoption of stable coins is going to be more and more going forward. It's going to be a lot more than what we see right now.
Right. So, what is the primary, reasons that everyone is talking about RWAs, particularly, for last 2 3 months?
Yeah, I think it's because it started with the bear market right now. During the bear market, right now the interest rates in crypto are crazy. Like if you look at the DeFi native strategies, they yield around like easily 30-40%. But
Right.
then the entire narrative of RWAs, I believe, started towards September, October of last year. That's when the hype started building out. Because of
So,
course, there's always uh, there's always flag bearers in the market. There's like Ondo Finance. There's other companies which are doing tremendously good job. But I believe one of the reasons why RWAs started their hype is because of the bear market. When the bear market hit into crypto, there was always a need to protect money, and one of the best ways to protect your money was using your traditional finance asset classes, which is your T-bills, sovereign bonds, etc., right? Or any type of money market assets, right? So now that actually transformed into protocols getting millions of TVL onto their ecosystems. And what we have seen is that a lot of companies also started investing into, a lot of VCs have invested into RWA projects. But as soon as the institutional money started flowing into crypto, which is your ETF money,
ETFs, right?
people started being more and more bullish into RWAs, because now, like, what would an institution do when they enter crypto? They would not just want to invest in the native DeFi strategies, right? They would want to invest in something that is institutional grade. And the best product that is institutional grade is a tokenized T-bill or a tokenized RWA, right? Which is traditionally acceptable. So that's where I believe a lot of institutions are going to, as institutions are entering into crypto, I believe that they're going to be looking forward to the asset classes that are favorable to their investment thesis, and RWAs fit it really well. So if you're an institution holding a bunch of Bitcoin, where you also have a lot of USDC, because you want to make sure your exposure is balanced with respect to Bitcoin's increase in price, you
Uh,
want to use that USDC portfolio to invest in safe asset classes, and that would be your T-bills or probably your other type of different class of asset classes, right?
right. Quite interesting. Got it. So yeah. Okay. So talking about RWA projects, you mentioned Undo. Can you please tell us more about top performing projects that are in RWA, so our traders can also focus on couple of trades in RWA tokens.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't probably talk about the tokens, but I would definitely, the bigger projects that are out there are definitely Ondo, Centrifuge, etc. Right? There's always Maple Finance has been there for a while, and I believe, like, if you're like a degen trader, right? I mean, like, if you're individual, right?
Right.
Uh, the reason why, think of the perspective of why someone should invest in RWAs that are there are two types of RWAs again. Like, I just wanted to have like a clarity, because one type of RWA is traditional finance asset classes. These are your Wall Street assets, typical, like, starting with T-bills to stocks. These are like tokenized form of assets that
Minerals,
are already
gold,
available.
right,
Yes, exactly, right. Like, already existing traditional finance asset classes. These are bonds. These are your government bonds, again, commodity bonds, gold bonds, as you mentioned,
right,
stocks, and, like, and different types of bonds that are freely traded on exchanges, right? There's other set of RWAs again, like, you also consider T-bills as a bond, but also you have asset classes like real estate. These are physical commodities. I'm not talking about real estate bonds. I'm talking about like actual commodities,
yes,
right?
that's right,
Now, the difference between commodities and the bonds that we see is, commodities is much more difficult to tokenize, right? It's much more it's hard because of several restrictions in terms of custody, etc. There's no infrastructure, there's no governance mechanism, there is no, like, all of the ways that you tokenize an asset class like a commodity is actually the same way that you create a bond, right? For example, if you want to tokenize a real estate, you essentially create an SPV and sell that shares of the SPV. But a real estate bond is already doing that. They're
right,
literally creating SPVs and already trading those shares, right?
right,
So I'm not. I don't say it's not going to happen, but I'm not seeing that happening in 3 to 4 years. Like, physical commodities getting, like, tokenized. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But I see a lot of, like, bonds and yield products getting tokenized, like, getting tokenized right now. And also I see them growing in terms of TVL in the next coming few years. And if anyone's interested in stable yield, definitely they should check out the top protocols, right? But there's always a KYC KYB factor. It's available. Some protocols only serve accredited investors, some protocols serve, like, multi set of investors. But yeah, I mean, like, in terms of tokens, I don't want to comment much on it. Like, you can
right.
always check out the best projects. I know Ondo is doing well, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much.
Interesting. Also, apart from this yield farming and other couple of things you just said, right, access to US dollars. So how RWA is helping the other sectors like supply chain and healthcare and other couple of sectors.
Yeah, I mean, like the only sector that I see, I mean, there is, I would probably summarize the kind of RWAs that are getting on right now, right? One is, of course, there is the entire scope of private credit. There's a lot of things in private credit that we can talk about, but
Right.
the major two areas is SME financing. That is typically, I think, there's a lot of protocols doing it, including Goldfinch, etc.,
Yes.
which is directly finding out a borrower, an SME, or a business that's doing a bunch of things like operational activities. These could be distributors or individual SMEs as well. So you work directly with the SMEs. You onboard them. You perform a credit analysis. You perform a credit check. You perform all sorts of different types of background checks needed for you to actually onboard them and provide them funding. There's typical banking, right? SME loans, right? So a lot of companies are actually tokenizing SME loans and allowing SMEs get capital for their operational needs. Now that's one type of RWA, which is, I would say, is good, but also it provides good APYs when you're talking about big SMEs and big distributors, because SME loans typically offer 12 to 15% or even more sometimes, right?
Right.
So, but again, it depends upon the SME. It is a lot of like there's a lot of matchmaking involved because you need to understand the needs of the SPV, what kind of like structures they have. That is definitely there. The other type of I would say the other type of RWAs that you're talking about is supply chain financing, or
Yes.
uh, uh, the other way to look at it is trade finance. These are again, you're funding an SME, but the SME is actually doing trade finance or cross-border trade, right?
Product
So
trade.
you have an invoice that is coming out of the SME, which means the SME has done an actual business, and for that actual service, they received an invoice. And now this invoice is actually generated by probably a bigger company that the SME is working with. Like there's so many companies working with, like for example, the companies that we have onboarded are AB InBev, Costa Coffee, etc. Now
Oh,
the way that we're working is we're working with their SMEs who are serving different services to them, and we are essentially funding the invoices generated by the EV InBevs of the world, right?
right.
So now I'm taking a larger bet on the bigger companies rather than the smaller SME, right? So that's another way. The third biggest way is your traditional finance products. These are bonds, T-bills, etc. Lot more security, right? You T-bill is equal. People say T-bill is directly proportional to US dollar, right? You can trade a T-bill for a US dollar because there's high liquidity, there's high security on top of it, and I believe like this is one of the asset class that is. I mean, there's the top TVL asset class, which is T-bill and other types of bonds, and I believe these are the third kind of asset classes, which are like your traditional asset classes. And I see a lot of stocks that can also be brought in, a lot of government bonds, etc., but they all come under the same factor, which is Wall Street assets.
Got it. So I also request the audience to ask questions in between if you have. Would love to answer that. For example, we're talking more about how RWs are helping the SMEs and how this invoice financing is this particular sector is booming for RWs and all that. So yeah, if you have any type of questions or queries, you can definitely put your questions in the comments. Okay, going forward. Okay, we talked about how you are helping a lot of sectors in financing and all that. So, what potential does RWA tokenization hold for democratization access to alternative investments?
Yeah, so alternative investments is the space for RWAs, right? That is where
Right.
entire picture of RWAs come in. Like, we are talking about alternative asset classes like, T-bills or ETFs or like, your gold bonds, etc. These are considered as alternative
Alternative
asset
investment.
classes. And also, I mean, you also have other alternative asset classes such as SME investment, right? I believe a lot of Web2 companies also do alternative investments like
Finance and
Grip
all.
Invest, etc., right? So the way that I see most of the alternative investment side of RWAs come in is by debt tokenization. Most of it is debt tokenization, right? So you're funding an SME either into green financing or probably into any sort of supply chain financing, what you're doing is you're taking that SME's debt, or SME, or it could be a major corporation as well, right?
Right.
So you're taking that corporate debt and you're essentially tokenizing it and putting it on chain, right? So alternative financing, the problem with alternative financing, the biggest challenge in Web2 world, and I believe a lot of you guys might have seen, is one, it's geographically restricted. That means if you're funding a company that is located in India, there's a lot of geographical restrictions on who should invest in that particular debt product, right? And that you see in most of these alternative investment platforms. There's so many restrictions. I'm not saying that regulatory restrictions don't apply on crypto, they still apply. But the problem is that tapping liquidity from other countries or from the markets that is not accessible using traditional Web2 channels can be solved using Web3. That means,
Right.
for example, a company trying to raise funds in LATAM for their debt, right? I mean, for their operation, working capital, let's say. Now, they can obviously tap into the markets within LATAM and their country and try to, like, get some capital from their own banks and private LPs. But with tokenization, I'm literally getting them LPs from Southeast Asia, from Hong Kong, from Europe, right? That is the potential of this market, because moving money from Hong Kong to LATAM in a traditional route is very challenging. You see, I mean, as a company, we do this day to day and we see so many restrictions with respect to banks, etc. But when I'm moving cryptocurrencies from one country to other country, right? And if the borrower is ready to accept cryptocurrency as a form of loan, it's a lot more easier. It's like single click transaction, right? Of
Right.
course, they have to do KYC, etc. But I don't have any banking layers in between. I just have to move one money from one wallet to other wallet in a compliant manner, right? So that's essentially the biggest advantage of tokenizing debt. And that's why alternative assets and investing into alternative assets is much more easier in crypto than in the Web2 world.
Right. Quite interestingly, you mentioned it. Uh, So you said, the physical assets, going on chain will take probably 4 or 5 years. So can you please tell us about no more exciting projects in RWS that you see, particularly if you can talk about some sectors like you said, supply chain or investment in SME sector that will possibly explode in couple of years. Like they will, it will go mainstream basically.
Yeah, so I would say T-bill tokenization is going to go mainstream. I see MakerDAO and other companies already taking exposure into T-bills. So anything related to T-bills and other highly regulated money market funds is going to be amazing. Like, a lot of companies are already doing it, and there's billions of TVL that's already locked. The second way is corporate bonds. I see corporate bonds is actually getting much more stronger these days. A lot of companies, a lot of Web3 companies are taking their treasury exposure into corporate bonds. These include both your companies that have raised funds and have a lot of treasury, but also company layer one, layer twos that have a lot of funding, right? A lot of treasury in their native tokens and tokens like Bitcoin, etc. They also would want to dive. I mean, Bitcoin is giving good returns, but if you're having USDC doing nothing on your bank in your treasury account, you can actually divert that into corporate bonds. And corporate bonds are pretty secure. They're AAA rated in most cases, right? Corporate bonds is one. And I see a lot of, like, LATAM based financing, emerging market based financing growing crazy, because this is an actual need in the market. Like, a lot of companies in LATAM, a lot of companies in emerging markets, including, like, Southeast Asia, want funding in the form of stable coins, etc., because of their depreciating local currencies, right? They
Right.
want a lot more exposure to US dollars. And the best way to get exposure to US dollars is your stable coins,
Stable
right?
coins, yes.
And that's where I see a lot of, like, LATAM emerging market based financing. This could be financing in the form of direct SME financing or invoice factoring or cross border trade. These kind of asset classes are also going to grow a lot more as we move further down the bull market and post the bull market as well.
Right, interesting. We got one question. Okay. Example, if someone invests in your account that was scam money, okay. And after I am trading in your platform that withdraw money. Okay. I think this question is particular to
Yeah, yeah.
42 or Jot, I don't know.
No, no. This is the case with most of the exchanges. Any platform that is dealing with TradeFi players, right? This applies to exchanges, RWA platforms, or if it's unless, like, at the end of the day, the way that most of the companies right now they're dealing with RWAs is that you have LPs who are putting in crypto money, right? And you're moving that crypto money to a relevant SPV structure or your offshore entity holding structures where you're trying to off ramp that money, and you're moving that off ramp money in case if a borrower doesn't accept crypto, you have to off ramp it and give him in their bank account, right? Give
Indeed.
them in their bank accounts, right? Now, the moment the crypto money touches the bank account, the bank tries to verify whether the money that they're receiving is good money, is like a safe transaction, or is it like a fraudulent transaction, right? And the
Right.
way that you can actually check that is essentially by understanding the profile of the lender itself when they're investing, right? So that's why, as a platform, right, everyone has to do thorough credit checks and AML checks on the type of lenders that you're onboarding or investors that you're onboarding on day one before they even invested any money into your account, right? So what we also do is we have an entire KYB check, a manual analysis also that is done on every lender. And we also make sure that we onboard accredited investors, and we make sure that there's an accredited check, and then only they're whitelisted to invest on the platform, right? Because we have both kind of borrowers, right? We have borrowers who accept crypto, right? And we also have borrowers who accept traditional finance money,
Traditional
right?
finance. Okay.
So we have to make sure that we follow all sorts of compliance activities so that we don't take money coming from a gray listed wallet or gray listed bank account or even an individual, right? So that part of KYC KYB is actually very strict in every RWA that you see. If you try to go and register, they ask a lot of questions and make sure that you are properly compliant before you're investing a dollar into any of the RWAs right now.
Right. Interesting. If
I mean, like, if the money, the other part is, if the bank detects that the money is actually fraudulent, they actually freeze the account. That is true.
right. Yeah. So yeah, even international governments are taking a lot of steps in terms of compliance side for crypto, be it be centralized exchange or decentralized exchange, or like segments like RWA. So of course, yeah, it's
True, true, true.
all right. If you guys have any questions, you can ask Kaushik. Also, Kaushik recently mentioned about MakerDAO that is doing great. You can also check out those RWA pairs on Pi42. We have around like more than 40 pairs recently. We've added a couple of pairs, and we're also planning to add more pairs including RWA tokens as well. So you can go to Pi42 and trade without paying those VDA taxes of 1% tax or VDA 30% VDA tax. So go, yeah, check out pi42.com meanwhile.
Yeah, definitely. And check out Zod.io as well.
Yes.
We are coming up with our own token. We'll be launching it soon.
Oh,
So yeah,
yes.
there's sort more incentive-based activities that we are doing. So you can always, check out our Twitter or website and to stay tuned.
So when you're planning, if you can give a teaser to our audience.
Yes, so we're coming up with a incentivized testnet soon. I would say, like, you can stay tuned within the next few days for the announcement, right? And yeah, it's going to be live across multiple networks, and you just have to follow our socials and be active to understand what we are trying to do.
Interesting. We should also plan no, out listing your token in your futures. Interesting. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions related to RWA, or if you know any particular question around one particular RWA projects, as State Maker DAO or anything about JOT or Pi42, you can ask us. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. Yeah. All right. Then,
Awesome.
yeah. Thank you, Kaushik, for joining us. This is quite interesting. Even I made a couple of notes. No, as you said, okay, these are the things that RWA is actually working on and how you people do it. Quite interesting.
Yeah. Thanks, Sudhakar. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Just a second. Someone is asking, please tell me tax benefit. Tax benefits of. What, like RWAs you saying, or Pi42?
Uh,
I don't know.
I mean, tax benefits. I mean, like, there's no real uh, difference between the benefits that you can compare with respect to traditional finance. I think it's going to be very similar in terms of tax structures, and I'm also not the probably the right person to comment on the benefit side of things. But I believe the compliance policies that any RWA platform has to follow is is the same compliance structures that you have to follow in the traditional finance. There's no real difference between both of them, right? Now, when you talk about tax benefits, I think whatever that applies in the traditional finance side of things still applies in RWAs as well. It's the same thing.
All right. Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you again, and happy weekend, guys. Happy weekend, Kasi.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.